Hey Pisces, welcome back. So I have been noticing this energy around Pisces lately, and it has been really intense. There is this pattern that keeps showing up, and I think you need to hear this because what I am seeing is not just about what happened to you, but about how incredibly strong you have been through all of it. Like seriously, the resilience that is coming through in these cards is absolutely remarkable. I want to start by saying that if you have been feeling like someone or maybe multiple people in your life have been hoping to see you fail or waiting for you to break down, you are not imagining that. The cards are confirming what you probably already sensed in your gut. But here is the thing that really stands out to me. The energy around you right now is showing me that their plans completely backfired on them. You know what is fascinating about this reading? It is not just about exposing what others did or tried to do. It is really about showing you just how powerful you actually are, even when you might not feel that way yourself. Sometimes we go through these really difficult periods and we are just in survival mode, right? We are just trying to get through each day. But then you look back and you realize, wow, I actually made it through something that was designed to destroy me, and I am still standing. So let me pull the first card here, because I really want to show you what the universe is revealing about this whole situation. The first card that comes through is the Two of Cups, and I have to tell you, when this card showed up in this particular position, it made me think really deeply about what has been happening in your connections with others. Now, the Two of Cups traditionally represents partnership, harmony, mutual respect, right? But when I see it in the context of your situation and the energy that has been surrounding you, it is telling a much more complex story. This card is showing me that there was someone, or perhaps there were people in your life who presented themselves as being on your side, as being your ally, your friend, maybe even your partner in some capacity. What is really striking about this is the duality of the Two of Cups energy here. On the surface, everything looked balanced and equal. There was this appearance of reciprocity, of give and take. But underneath, Pisces, there was something very different happening. I am seeing that while you were genuinely showing up in these connections with your whole heart, which is so typical of Pisces energy, by the way, the other person or people were actually sizing you up, studying you, looking for weaknesses. This is where it gets really interesting because the Two of Cups is also about mirroring. When two people come together in any kind of relationship, they mirror things back to each other. But what I am seeing in your case is that someone was using that mirroring effect in a really manipulative way. They were reflecting back to you what you wanted to see, what you needed to see, so that you would trust them, so that you would let your guard down. You know what really gets me about this? The level of calculation involved. Because the Two of Cups requires effort from both sides to maintain that balance, right? So this person or these people, they were putting in effort, but not the kind of effort that builds something real. They were putting in the effort required to maintain an illusion. They were doing just enough to keep you believing in the connection while simultaneously planning something completely different behind the scenes. I think about the Pisces nature and how you naturally want to see the best in people. You want to believe in the potential of relationships. You are willing to dive deep into emotional waters with others because that is where you feel most at home. And someone saw that beautiful quality in you and they weaponized it. They used your depth against you. But here's what the Two of Cups is also revealing, and this is crucial. This card, in its traditional sense, represents emotional intelligence and the ability to truly connect with others on a soul level. And Pisces, you have that ability in abundance. The person who is trying to manipulate you, they do not have that same depth. They were operating from a much more superficial place, trying to mimic something they do not actually possess. So while they thought they were playing you, what was really happening is that your genuine emotional depth was highlighting their lack of it. Does that make sense? Like when you put something real next to something fake, the fake becomes obvious. They might not have realized it at the time, but your authenticity was already exposing their pretense, even before everything came to light. The Two of Cups here is telling me that you were being genuine in your connections while someone else was being strategic. And there is actually a kind of power in that, even though it might not feel like it when you are the one being deceived. Your capacity for real connection, real emotion, real vulnerability, that is not a weakness. That is actually your greatest strength. Moving forward in this reading, the next card that appears is the Wheel of Fortune in O Pisces. This one is so significant right now. The Wheel of Fortune is all about cycles, about what goes up must come down, about karma and the natural order of the universe restoring balance. And in your situation, this card is practically screaming that the tables are turning. Think about how a wheel works, right? It is constantly in motion. Sometimes you are at the top, sometimes you are at the bottom, but it never stops moving. The person or people who were trying to bring you down, they thought they had positioned themselves at the top of the wheel. They thought they were in control of which way it was spinning. They believed their manipulations and their schemes had given them power over your life, over your emotions, over your future. But the Wheel of Fortune does not care about human schemes. It operates on a much larger scale, on universal principles that cannot be manipulated or controlled by individual egos or malicious intentions. And what I am seeing with this card is that the wheel has been turning this whole time, even when you could not see it, even when it felt like nothing was changing, even when it seemed like these people were getting away with everything they were doing to you. The Wheel of Fortune in this position is telling me that there is a karmic reckoning happening right now. Not someday in the distant future, not eventually, but now. The energy has shifted, the cycle has turned, and the people who were hoping to see you destroyed, they are about to experience exactly what they tried to inflict on you. Actually, they probably already are experiencing it, and they are completely bewildered by it because they do not understand how it happened. This is where understanding the Wheel of Fortune becomes really important because it is not about revenge. This is not about you doing anything to make karma happen. The Wheel of Fortune is showing me that this is simply the natural consequence of actions taken. It is cause and effect on a spiritual level. When someone puts negative energy out into the universe, when someone actively tries to harm another person, that energy has to go somewhere. It has to return to its source eventually. What is really fascinating to me about this card appearing right now is the timing of it. The Wheel of Fortune suggests that there was a specific moment, a turning point where everything shifted. And I am getting the sense that this turning point might have been when you made a decision to stop participating in the dysfunction. Maybe you walked away from a situation. Maybe you set a boundary that you had never set before. Maybe you just internally decided that you were done accepting treatment that did not honor your worth. Whatever that moment was for you, Pisces, that was when the wheel began to turn in your favor. Because here is the thing about the Wheel of Fortune. It responds to our internal shifts just as much as our external actions. When you changed your relationship to the situation, when you stopped feeding energy into dynamics that were draining you, you essentially stepped off one wheel and onto another one that is moving in a completely different direction. And the people who are trying to keep you trapped in that old cycle, they are still on that wheel, but now it is turning against them instead of against you. They are experiencing the descent that they had planned for you, the isolation they wanted you to feel. They are feeling it. The failure they wanted to witness in your life, it is manifesting in theirs. The desperation they hoped to see from you, that is what they are experiencing now. The next card coming through is Death. And I know when people see the Death card, they often get worried, but I actually got a little excited when this one appeared. Because in the context of what you are going through, this is such a powerful and positive sign. The Death card is not about physical death. It is about transformation, about the complete and total ending of one chapter, so that something entirely new can begin. What I am seeing with the Death card in your reading is that there is no going back to how things were before. And I mean that in the best possible way. The person or situation that tried to break you, that door is closed. That chapter is finished. The universe is making it very clear that the old patterns, the old dynamics, the old version of yourself that tolerated less than you deserved, all of that is dead and gone. This is important because sometimes when we go through really painful experiences, there is a part of us that secretly hopes things could go back to how they were before everything fell apart, back when we were innocent and trusting, back before we knew what we know now. The Death card is telling you that even if you wanted to go back, and you probably do not actually want that, but even if you did, it is not possible. That version of reality has been completely dismantled. And for the people who tried to hurt you, the Death card is equally significant. Their ability to affect you, their access to your energy, their power over your emotions, all of that is experiencing a death as well. They might still try to reach out, they might still attempt to manipulate or control, but it is not going to work anymore because you are fundamentally different now. You have been transformed by what you went through. The Death card is also showing me something about perception and how the people who targeted you are dealing with this transformation. They are looking at you now and they do not recognize what they are seeing. They expected you to be broken. They anticipated finding you in pieces, struggling, barely holding on. Instead, what they are seeing is someone who has emerged from the fire completely transformed into something they cannot touch, cannot hurt, cannot manipulate anymore. This transformation that the Death card represents, it was not easy. I am not going to pretend that getting to this point was anything other than incredibly difficult. You had to let parts of yourself die. You had to release beliefs you held about people you cared about. You had to grieve the loss of what you thought was real. You had to sit with betrayal and pain and disappointment. That process of transformation through the Death card energy is one of the most challenging experiences anyone can go through. But the result of that process, Pisces, the result is that you have been reborn into a version of yourself that is so much more powerful than before. Not because you became hard or closed off, but because you learned to discern. You learned to protect your energy while still maintaining your beautiful, compassionate Pisces nature. You learned that you can be soft and strong at the same time. You learned that having boundaries does not make you unkind. The people who tried to destroy you wanted to see you desperate and broken. The Death card is showing me that what they are actually seeing now is someone who died and came back completely different, completely untouchable by their schemes. And that terrifies them because it means they failed. Not only did they fail to break you, but their attempts to break you actually made you stronger. That is the ultimate backfire. Now, I am pulling the Hermit card, and this one is really speaking to me about a specific period you went through recently, or might still be in to some degree. The Hermit represents solitude, introspection, inner wisdom, and the journey of self-discovery that happens when we withdraw from the outside world to focus on our internal landscape. What I am seeing with the Hermit is that at some point during or after the situation with these people who tried to hurt you, you went into a period of isolation. Maybe it was a conscious choice, or maybe it just happened naturally, but you pulled back from social connections, from putting yourself out there, from engaging with the world the way you used to. And I want you to know that this was not weakness. This was not you hiding or running away. This was you doing the deep inner work that the Death card transformation required. The Hermit holds a lantern that lights the way, and in your case, Pisces, that lantern represents the truth you are seeking. During this time of solitude, you were asking yourself really hard questions. You were examining your patterns, your choices, your relationships. You were trying to understand how you ended up in a situation where someone could hurt you so deeply. You were looking for the lesson, for the meaning, for the reason why this had to happen. And here is what the Hermit is revealing to me. You found it. You found the wisdom you were looking for. You discovered truths about yourself that you could only learn through that period of introspection. You gained clarity about what you will and will not accept in your life moving forward. You developed a stronger sense of your own intuition and learned to trust the warning signs that you might have ignored before. But the Hermit is also showing me something else that is really important. During this time when you were alone, doing your inner work, healing and growing, the people who hurt you were completely obsessed with what you were doing. They could not stand your silence. They could not handle not having access to your reactions, your emotions, your energy, your absence from their lives, your refusal to engage, your quiet dignity. It drove them absolutely crazy. This is fascinating because the Hermit energy is so peaceful and self-contained. You were not thinking about them during this time. You were focused on yourself, on your healing, on your growth, but they were consumed with thoughts of you. They were checking on you, asking about you, trying to figure out what you were doing and how you were coping. They expected to see you falling apart, and instead, they saw nothing because you had wisely removed yourself from their view. The hermit represents wisdom gained through solitude, and one of the wisdoms you gained was this understanding that the best response to people who want to see you suffer is simply not allowing them to see you at all. You did not need to prove anything to them. You did not need to show them how well you were doing. You just quietly removed yourself from the narrative they had created and focused on writing your own story instead. And that silence, that withdrawal, it was more powerful than any confrontation could have been. Because when you refuse to give people the reaction they are looking for, when you deny them access to your emotional state, they are left with nothing but their own thoughts and their own conscience. And for people who have done wrong, that is actually a terrible place to be. The next card is the Seven of Pentacles, and this one is really beautiful because it speaks to patience, long-term investment, and the rewards that come from consistent effort over time. In traditional interpretations, the Seven of Pentacles shows someone pausing to assess their progress, looking at what they have cultivated and determining whether their efforts are bearing fruit. In your reading, Pisces, the Seven of Pentacles is telling me that everything you went through, all that pain and difficulty and transformation, it was not random and it was not meaningless. You were actually planting seeds during that entire time, even if you did not realize it. Every moment you chose to maintain your dignity instead of retaliating, that was a seed. Every time you focused on your own healing instead of seeking revenge, that was a seed. Every boundary you set, every lesson you learned, every piece of wisdom you gained, all of those were seeds being planted in the garden of your future. And now, with the Seven of Pentacles appearing, you are in this phase where you can actually start to see those seeds beginning to grow. The results of your patience, your resilience, your commitment to taking the high road, they are starting to become visible. Maybe it is showing up in how you feel about yourself. Maybe it is manifesting in new opportunities. Maybe it is appearing as inner peace that you did not have before. But whatever form it is taking, you are starting to see that your efforts were not in vain. What is really interesting about the Seven of Pentacles in relation to the people who tried to hurt you is that this card is showing a contrast in what is being harvested. While you are beginning to see positive results from the seeds of resilience and growth that you planted, they are harvesting something very different. They planted seeds of deception, manipulation, and malice. And the Seven of Pentacles is showing me that their harvest is coming in as well, but it is not what they wanted. They thought they were investing in your downfall. They thought they were cultivating a situation where they would benefit from your pain. But the Seven of Pentacles operates on the principle that you reap what you sow, and they are discovering that the crop they are harvesting is bitter. They are experiencing isolation because trust broken is very hard to rebuild. They are facing consequences they did not anticipate. They are dealing with the reputation damage that comes from being exposed as someone who operates with ill intent. The Seven of Pentacles is also about assessment and reevaluation. It is that moment where you step back and honestly look at what your efforts have produced. And I am sensing that there might be someone in this situation who is starting to have that moment of honest assessment. They are looking at what they did, looking at the results, and starting to realize that they made a terrible mistake. Not because they suddenly grew a conscience, but because they are starting to see the real cost of their actions. This card is telling me that there is a dawning awareness happening for them, that they underestimated you completely. They thought you were an easy target, someone they could knock down and keep down. The Seven of Pentacles is revealing to them that not only did you get back up, but you cultivated something beautiful from the wreckage they tried to create in your life. And that realization is eating at them because it proves that they never had the power they thought they had over you. The final card in this reading is the Ten of Swords. And I am not going to lie, when I first saw this card come through, I had to really sit with it because the Ten of Swords is often seen as one of the most challenging cards in the deck. It depicts a figure lying face down with 10 swords in their back, and traditionally it represents betrayal, painful endings, hitting rock bottom, feeling completely defeated. But here is the thing about the Ten of Swords that many people do not fully understand. Yes, it represents that moment of total defeat, but it also represents the absolute end of a painful cycle. It is rock bottom, but rock bottom is also the foundation from which you push yourself back up. The Ten of Swords is the darkest moment before dawn. It is the final death blow that ends the suffering, because once you are at the absolute bottom, the only direction available is up. In your reading, the Ten of Swords is telling me that there was a moment, probably not too long ago, where you felt absolutely destroyed. This was the moment when everything came crashing down, when the betrayal was fully revealed, when you realized the extent of what had been done to you. It was brutal. It was devastating. It felt like something you might not survive. That was your Ten of Swords moment. But here is what is so powerful about this card appearing in your reading now. After all the other cards we have looked at, the Ten of Swords is in the past. You have already been through it. You already survived the worst moment. You are looking back at that experience now from a position of having moved beyond it. The transformation of the Death card, the wisdom of the Hermit, the harvest of the Seven of Pentacles, all of that came after your Ten of Swords moment. The Ten of Swords in this position is also revealing something crucial about the people who hurt you. They wanted to deliver that final blow. They wanted to be the ones to completely destroy you. They were aiming for your Ten of Swords moment, and in a way, they achieved it. But what they did not understand, what they could not have predicted, is that the Ten of Swords is not an ending. It is a clearing. It is the universe removing everything that was not serving you, everything that was built on false foundations, every connection that was toxic, every belief that was limiting you. So yes, they got to witness a version of your destruction. But what they are seeing now is that the destruction they caused was actually a liberation. You are not broken. You are free. Free from illusions, free from their manipulation, free from the version of yourself that would have accepted less than you deserve. The Ten of Swords cleared the way for everything new that is coming into your life now. And for them, the Ten of Swords is starting to appear in a different way. They are beginning to experience their own moment of complete defeat, their own rock bottom, their own realization that their actions have led them to a place of total isolation and consequence. The difference is that your Ten of Swords was inflicted upon you by others, and you rose from it with grace and strength. Their Ten of Swords is self-inflicted through their own choices and their own cruelty, and they are going to have to find their own way out of that darkness. The Ten of Swords is also showing me that there is no coming back from what they did. There is no apology that could undo it, no explanation that could justify it, no amount of time that could erase it. That bridge is not just burned, it has been completely demolished. And the finality of that, the absolute nature of that ending, is something they are struggling with because they thought they could control the narrative. They thought they could hurt you and then decide when and how things would be resolved. The Ten of Swords is telling them, no, you do not get to decide that. That decision has been made and it is final. So Pisces, as I look at all of these cards together, the story they are telling is so clear. You were in a situation with people who presented themselves as allies through the Two of Cups energy, but they were actually studying you, looking for weaknesses, planning something that would hurt you deeply. They wanted to see you desperate, broken, screaming for help. They wanted to witness your complete destruction, but the wheel of fortune turned, as it always does, and karma began its work. The Death card swept through and transformed everything, including you. You emerged completely different, completely untouchable by their schemes. The Hermit shows your wise withdrawal, your period of introspection and healing, and how your silence and absence drove them crazy because they could not see you falling apart the way they had hoped. The Seven of Pentacles reveals that you are now harvesting the rewards of your resilience, while they are harvesting the consequences of their cruelty. And the Ten of Swords confirms that, yes, they managed to deliver a devastating blow, but that blow was actually the catalyst for your complete liberation and transformation, while they are now facing their own Ten of Swords moment of reckoning. The title of this reading is about how they wanted to hear your desperate scream and how they cannot stand your ability to overcome adversity. And Pisces, every single card confirms this narrative. They are absolutely bewildered by your strength. They cannot comprehend how you survived what they put you through. They cannot accept that not only did you survive, but you actually thrived. You took the worst they could throw at you and you transmuted it into power, into wisdom, into growth. Your ability to overcome adversity is not just frustrating to them, it is actually threatening to them because it exposes the weakness in their approach to life. They operate from a place of trying to tear others down to feel elevated. You operate from a place of genuine strength that does not need to diminish anyone else to exist. And when those two approaches meet, when your authentic power encounters their false sense of superiority, there is no competition. Your way of being wins every single time. I want you to understand something really important as we close this reading. The fact that they cannot stand your resilience, the fact that your ability to overcome what they did bothers them so much. That is not your problem to manage. You do not need to dim your light to make them feel better about themselves. You do not need to pretend to be struggling to satisfy their expectations. You do not owe them the performance of pain they were hoping to see. Keep moving forward in your power, Pisces. Keep harvesting the beautiful growth that is coming from the seeds you planted during your darkest times. Keep honoring the transformation you have undergone. Keep trusting the wisdom you gained during your hermit period. Keep believing in the karmic justice that the Wheel of Fortune promises. And know that the Ten of Swords moment you survived has cleared the path for something so much better than what you lost. The universe has your back. The cards are clear about that. And the people who tried to destroy you are learning a very hard lesson about underestimating a Pisces. You might be gentle, you might be compassionate, you might be trusting, but you are also one of the strongest signs in the zodiac when it comes to surviving what would break other people. Your ability to dive deep into pain, process it, transform it, and emerge with your heart still open, that is a superpower they will never possess.